A lot of people are saying, why would he make a video that's obviously not going to get any airplay? And how come you weren't the subject of all that torture?
The first part of it was, when it was time to do a video, I'm not a big fan of videos in general, the way they look usually, so I wanted to do something that was a bit different, and the idea that I come up with for that song was one that was not your standard video fare, and also just what I thought was appropriate for the visual accompaniment to that song.
It's a brilliant clip. I think
thanks.
it's really wonderful.
And we were trying to find directors that had not done videos before, and I came across a guy here in LA, John Reese, and we started talking about things, and got to a point where it was like, well, how far do we want to take this video? Do we want to just stop at reasonable boundaries, or do what we think would be appropriate but possibly prevent it from being shown on TV or anything? And with the new record deal that I have now, I can do pretty much what I want to do, and I don't have this level hierarchy of people saying okay to get things done. So we just did it, and then the first cut we did wasn't quite intense enough, because if we were going to do it, we figured we might as well just cross the line into potentially into bad taste. So we did another reshoot, and I think that's the right thing for the song. You know, I don't really want to cater to MTV standards or anything like that. You know, the point was not
Personally, I thank you for that.
I mean, it wasn't, I think most videos are bad, and unfortunately a lot of bands are faced with a situation of, if you're going to spend $500,000 to $100,000 on a video, which costs more than a lot of records do to make, it has to be playable or marketable, and if it isn't, then there's not much point in doing it. And I decided to just waste a lot of money on something that I thought was the right thing to do versus, you know. So now I have people saying, oh, you just did that to get censorship and, you know, to get it censored and whatever, but.
Do you find yourself answering to a lot of people, or defending your actions, having gone from TVT to Interscope, and because there was this enormous bidding war for the band, and a lot of people were paying a lot of attention to who you were going to go with, and do you find yourself defending your actions?
Surprisingly, not on that front. I mean, I have more people that are concerned about potential sellout factor, and I find that the more fans you get, then suddenly you're questioned by a lot more people, and the original fans that you had now suddenly have to question if they still like you because other people like you, and you find yourself in a weird position of your whole mission is to sell as many records as you can and do a good tour and etc. And you start doing that, and people start to like you, and then the people that originally liked you suddenly don't like you anymore because of something you didn't live up to, obscurity thing. So, but as far as the deal, I haven't had many people get on me about that, you know.
Well, we'll talk more about Broken, which is the EP that's out now, and Fixed, which I understand is going to be remixes, and the album that will be coming out early next year. But first, we have a video. It's the Lemonheads, Mrs. Robinson. It's for Liz and Fontana, Maria and Belle, and Angie and Kathy, one of whom it's their birthday, so whoever you are, happy birthday. Hi, welcome back to Request Video. Caller number 13 right now. I'm not giving the number out ever again. Anyway, you got a pair of tickets to see Fear at the Palladium on December 12th. It's presented by Golden Voice. My guest today is 9 Inch Nails. So you guys find out you have to go visit Trent at the Manson house, where the Manson, or actually the Tate house where the Manson murders took place. How did that make you feel?
Well, it's something that if you just think it's really weird, it's weird. But if you don't think about it, it's fine. You know.
Any ghosts?
At first living here was a bit weird, because I live there too. I live out in the guest house where the caretaker was and didn't hear anything, so I feel safe. But the thing was, we drove cross country to get out here and knew what we were getting, you know, knew where we were going to be living, so we just took turns reading Helter Skelter out loud as we were driving. So we pull in here, and 11 o'clock Sunday night, caretaker's like, here's your keys, see you in the morning. He just left us. And the house was empty and everything, and that was
a frightening.
Wait, is there a weird vibe there at all? I mean, something was saying that the kitchen is very pristine and not that far down where the only clear fingerprints that sort of nailed all these people were. I mean, it's because we had the opportunity to possibly go to the house and do the interview there, although we don't have a budget anymore. Not that we ever did, which I would have given my right arm for. So I'm assuming you're going to invite me to dinner after the program.
Of course.
Okay. No, yeah, and the rest of the studio. Is there a weird vibe there?
If you're there in the day, it's not too. I mean, it's what you juxtapose upon the place. But occasionally, I mean, we become numb to it because we're there all the time. But if you start to think about it, and a lot of times there's a lot of weird, just things happen. Equipment has a tendency to break 20 times more often than it does anywhere else, I think. Weird sounds, things like that, which of course you in your mind turn into being,
Ghosts.
this is it, you know.
The baby's here.
Exactly. But the way we found out about that place was, I was looking for a house to put a studio in temporarily to record a record instead of going to a real studio. And I was going to do it in New Orleans, where I was living, but couldn't find a place that met all the requirements of big enough, not next to neighbors, so you can make noise. Came out to LA for a day and saw like 10 houses in a row, and that was one of them. And at the end of the day, we just decided that was pretty much the coolest one. We didn't know at the time that was it, because the address is different than in the book. And someone mentioned, hey, I think that, you know, that Sharon Tate house is right up around there somewhere, and they happened to have a copy of Helter Skelter, and started looking through it, and saw this picture of the ladder that I was standing on that day, and I was like, oh man. So then it was like, oh, you gotta rent it now, you gotta do it, you know? So the only time we'd seen it after that was when we drove out, knowing that it was it, and get there at night.
Do you want to continue recording there?
We're gonna try to finish this new album we're working on there.
The album that's going to be released in, is it like
Someday.
March of next year or something like that?
Well, realistically, we're shooting for a summer release, because I'm recording now through whenever I get it done, which I hope will be March.
So Broken is the EP that's out now. And now, is there a remix that's called Fixed? Is that, am I incorrect?
No, what happened is I had people that I respect do remixes of all the songs on the record, including Coil and Jim Thirlwell, Fetus. And a variety of people. Of course, I can't think of any now that you've asked me that. But decided to make like one big 12-inch of all remixes with all the songs remixed, and call it Fixed. The problem was that possible confusion in the marketplace, so I'm told by people that know that sort of thing. But it was just meant to be a remix and cheap and self-indulgent. You know, there's 10 minutes of us goofing around in the studio and just for fun.
Nothing wrong with that. We're going to watch some more videos, and then we'll be back with more with Nine Inch Nails. Coming up, you're going to see the 360s, Dead 1970. But right now, here's the other new Nine Inch Nails video. It's Pinion. Welcome back to Request Video. We have some phone calls for you guys. I hope you don't mind if we're going to risk it and take these.
Right.
So why don't we go to the phones? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, who's this?
This is Steve from Mission Viejo.
Steve, you sound like you're like next door. This is the best phone line we've ever had. What's your question?
Where did you guys get your name, Nine Inch Nails?
Now, there had to have been something more creative than that. But that's okay. It's okay. You're welcome to ask.
No, not to be rude. People have been asking me that for, we've been around, what, 3 years or so. No great significance. Just thought of it, liked it 2 weeks later. That's the test for a band name. You write it down, you like it that day. If you wake up the next day and it's okay, then it's a good name. And that worked, and it was better than Toad the Wet Sprocket, so.
I'm giving away tickets to see Toad. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Why don't we
Toad.
skip over whichever phone call we're going to take where they ask what the inspirations are, and we'll take the next phone call. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, who's this?
This is Carlos from Montebello.
Carlos, you're not going to say who's your inspiration, are you?
No, I'm not.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Trent what he has against Frontline Assembly or Bill Lee.
Boy, you're right. You weren't going to ask that.
All right. Well, just to address this once and for all, I have nothing against them. In the course of that interview, he's referring to a thing I said in Spin about Frontline Assembly, where I pretty much, let me think of the censored way to put this, I said bad things about them. I apologize to Bill for that because I realized it was irresponsible. I didn't mean to do that in the first place. And I was kind of, that interview was going poorly, and I'd realized that I'd kind of been swindled into that under a false pretense of what it was about. And I was panicking, and I just blurted out that. And thought, I wonder if they're going to print that, and of course they did. So I contacted Bill, and that sent him on a Nine Inch Nails trashing rampage, which is, you know, I started it, so fair enough. So that's the end of the chapter as far as I'm concerned.
Good enough. We've got one more call. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, what's your question?
Yeah, I want to know if the band is ever going to be on tour.
Yeah, well, someday we'll be on tour again. Decided, I was just concerned that we'd toured quite a bit on the last record. In fact, a lot. And wanted to just kind of take a backseat for a while and get some more music out, more albums. And when we complete the next record that we're working on now, we'll go on a pretty lengthy tour, which will probably start next summer, next fall, something like that.
We do have one more phone call, so why don't we take that too? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, this is Wendy from Cerritos.
Hi, Wendy. What's your question?
I was wondering if there's any significance in the backwards N in Nine Inch Nails.
The backwards N. Is it a logo thing, or did you decide that there was a portion of your life that was backward and
we do worship the devil, but...
Yeah, I remember having that conversation. What's the biggest misconception about you guys?
No, I don't know. Possibly, I get irritated when people say it's anti-women. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Oh, we get labeled as being industrial, right, by the media. And some people that tends to irk because they're harking back to when industrial was originally coined for, and those type of bands, Throbbing Gristle, Test Department, etc., which we have very little in common with. So that, I don't know, that seems to irritate some people. I didn't ever go around saying we're an industrial band, but all right.
Now, were all three of you at the Guns N' Roses thing at Wembley?
2 of the 3 of us here were.
Was it just the most horrible thing in your life? I mean, because the audiences, the audiences could not have been more different. I mean, and to be there with Skid Row, of all bands. I mean, how did that work out? I mean,
well, the situation came up. Axl likes the band and wanted to do anything he could to help us out, which I can appreciate. And asked if we would do this club tour with him a while ago, which we couldn't because of scheduling. And we were going to Europe at the same time at the completion of the first Lollapalooza. And thought, I mean, we're very small in Europe. Very few people know who we are or care about us there. And we thought what a weird thing to do would be open for Guns N' Roses. Plus, I wasn't really thinking that clearly, and we'd been touring for a long time, and we'd been playing 20,000-seat halls with Lollapalooza. And kind of had this invincible, we can do anything attitude. And when we got there, I realized that it was just, there was nothing we could do that would win those people over. And it was an experiment. Yeah, it was kind of numbing to walk out on stage and see
what you saw.
Yeah, it was an unpleasant feeling. But then it just turned into a joke by the end. But then I wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible before I was killed. So.
Yeah. Now you're here. You're safe with us. We're going to watch some more videos. Coming up after these words, you're going to see Nine Inch Nails. What, actually, before we go to commercial break, you brought in a video that you guys just finished editing, what, like today or something?
Yeah, I just did a video that we filmed in London for the song Wish that Peter Christopherson from Coil directed. And then he came over here and we edited it at my house, and today, just drove it here. So it's
Thank you.
Fresh. Pre-MTV.
Yeah, they don't have it. Thank you. Anyway, you're also going to see Ministry Stigmata for Brian in Lake Forest, and we'll be back after this. Hi, welcome back to Request Video. Trent, would you do me the kind favor of giving away the next pair of tickets that are up there?
Yeah, how do I do that?
You say caller number 17.
Okay, caller 17 gets tickets to see Toad the Wet Sprocket. And the Gin Blossoms at Palladium on December 11th.
It's presented by Avalon Attractions. Thank you. Did it pain you to do that?
It all comes back to me. No,
I'm very sorry. Gosh, I don't even. Okay, Down In It, the video behind Down In It. You guys have made like a lot of videos that have created stories around them. For instance, for Happiness and Slavery, they don't even want the videotape in the country in the UK at all. And then you did another video where there was genital piercing, and so that wasn't going to get much play. And then there's the story behind the video in Down In It, which unfortunately our copy of Down In It has been destroyed. So what happened with that, with H-Gun?
Another familiar story. In a nutshell, as my calculus teacher used to say, we filmed this video. Parts of it, we had cameras on weather balloons filled with helium, so we could start them and let them go up and reel them back down. That was the theory involved. And the lines to bring them back down weren't strong enough, and one of them just got away. And we were in Chicago, and we went to the roof of this building and looked, and it was a dot on the horizon somewhere. And I remember saying, I hope that doesn't fall and kill somebody, you know. So a year and a half later, I got a call from my manager saying, you're not going to believe what happened, but... And suddenly I thought, it fell and killed somebody. And it landed in some farmer's field in like 100 miles away. He found it, thought it was like a surveillance camera for marijuana or something. Gave it to the police, they developed the film, and it thought it was some kind of... a lot of it was like slow motion, and it was really strangely filmed. And they thought it was some kind of cult killing because they saw me laying on the ground. So they gave it to the FBI, who then started this investigation, which tracked it down to Chicago because they could see the L trains and things. And you can see where this leads, you know, and they realized. But the best part of that was Hard Copy did a story on it. It was a classic piece of video if you ever see that thing.
Yeah, I'd like to. We have another phone call for you. Hello.
Hi, this is Mike.
Hi, Mike.
I had a question for Trent. Maybe the band could answer this as well. I've heard how Alan Jorgensen just gets completely wasted beyond belief before he goes into the studio. I wonder if that was sort of part of your creative process also, or what your creative process was like. And also, I've noticed that since the first record, you've sort of toned down the keyboard use, it seems, and I was wondering if you're going to go ahead and like completely phase them out, or what you were going to do.
What did you ask about Al? He does what?
Well, I was just sort of wondering about your creative process. I've read an article how he goes into the studio just completely wasted, and that's sort of how he goes about it. I was wondering if you guys do that, or what you guys do.
I don't think the studio has anything to do with Alan going and doing that.
No, I mean, different people...
Well, maybe that's the only way he operates. But.
Well,
Yeah, I guess different people, you know, work different ways. We personally don't, because productivity grinds to a halt. And we never play that way either, because the shows kind of are fun for us, but for everybody else, they're pretty miserable. So, inspiration, probably the main reason I don't have a double record ready to be released right now is that when I'm on the road, I can't really write because I have to just be alone and think about things and have some peaceful thought, time to think. And when you're on tour, you don't. You're moved around and shuffled around like meat, etc. So, I don't know if that answers your question about inspiration. And the second part was regarding to keyboards on the new record. Almost everything on that's electronic. There's very little real guitar on that. It's just that I was finding a lot of the old keyboard sounds a bit dated and wanted to try something different. You know, I could make another album like Pretty Hate Machine in no time, but I didn't think that was a very fair challenge to myself. And so I wrote all these songs on guitar versus keyboard, which I can't play that well. So just a new way to try to not repeat myself and do the same thing over and over again.
You are when I had asked you about Nothing Records, I didn't know what it was because Nothing TVT, Interscope. Mm-hmm. It's a label that you're putting together. Why do you want to have the headache, as it were, or non-headache of having your own label?
Well, we have no desire to be, we being management myself, have no desire to be a full-fledged record label because I tend to not like those kind of people. Mm-hmm. And the headaches involved with it, I have no desire to take on. But Nothing provides us a barrier where Interscope essentially gives us money, we deliver them final records, videos, etc., where nobody's responsible or nobody has their hands in the pie except for me and our project. And that's not an example, I don't think, of megalomania as much as it is just creative control over the whole thing. And we have the option of signing other bands, maybe a couple at most, to give them a shell of freedom where they can just be left alone to make their music without record label people coming in and interfering or having marketing or commercialism enter into the equation. And that's nothing against Interscope Records, by the way, because they've been totally cool to us. But I've been in a bad deal. I've known what it's like to be. It's a terrible feeling to know what you want to do, but can't get it done because someone with no taste is making you do it a different way, and then ultimately you're the one responsible to your fans. But it's hard to say, well, hey, I didn't want it to sound that way, but yeah.
Was doing Broken cathartic for you? Because I was reading in the bio that you apparently wrote that it was made during a pretty horrible time, and that everything was pretty crappy at the time. Did it help kind of bring you out of that?
In retrospect, yeah, when we did it, it was terrible. We're in a scenario where it was the worst of the record label fighting going on before we had been rescued by Interscope. I was faced with the fact of every fan in the world of mine is on my back about when's a new record coming out. Knowing that I can't put a record out because I can't record it because I don't have a record deal. And if I did one with our old label, it would have been ruined. I couldn't take that chance. I'd rather have Nine Inch Nails just die than come out with a lighter, smoothed over project, you know. So we did it under different band names and in obscure little places, very depressing places I might add too. And just a heap of personal problems and everything at that time. It was just a way to get it out, and that's why that record sounds as mean as it does, I think. And I mean, I've had a lot of people say I miss elements of Pretty Hate Machine, and I realize that I purposely took a lot out on Broken. And I think I wrote good songs, but I tried to not make them as obvious. So there's no Head Like a Hole's, there's hooks, but you can't. Sometimes you don't hear them the first time around, and you might have to work to listen. It requires a bit more work on the listener's side versus sit back and get hit over the head with a hook and say, oh, good song. Now you have to kind of decipher, and the lyrics are pushed back and everything.
Well, we, speaking of Head Like a Hole, we're going to watch that video. You're also going to see Black Flag TV Party. That's for Grant and West Hills. But right now, here is Head Like a Hole, and there have been several times, and you guys have heard me say this is just about my favorite video that's come out. So, hey! They all want to come up here and get things signed. Anyway, it's for Alfred and Southgate and Wendy and Cerritos. Well, I'm here with the chicken, with Darren's Chicken. I'm supposed to talk about Darren's Chicken and the fact that all of Nine Inch Nails, who's been my guest, has signed this. So thank you for signing the chicken. There you go. Is there anybody in particular that any of you guys would want to work with? And on top of that, is it difficult for you guys to have so much attention paid to Trent? Because you sit there and I just, you know.
It looks sad, kind of. Yeah.
Want to love you up for being so patient. Okay.
About to sum that up.
But is there anybody in particular that you guys would want to work with?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in various degrees of like certain instrumentalists I'd like to play with, a couple of different guitar players, some drummers, etc. In terms of production, down the road, there's a lot of people I respect that I'd like to just have input from. You know? Doing that remix record was a way to at least talk to some of those people. You know, Coil, I have a lot of respect for. Fetus, as I mentioned. I don't know. I mean, right now I'm just trying to write a record and get out of this hole that I'm in and get back on the road and, I don't know, feel worth.
So it's like a Sunday night and y'all are at home and you're listening to something to sort of relax you. What do you guys listen to in your more somber moments?
On your way down.
No, I don't know. We just find ourselves listening to music all day long, and we just want to not listen to music for a while, but I don't know. I have no good answer for that question.
So what do you guys do in your spare time? I mean, obviously music's consuming you, but you know, are you sculpting? Are you riding your scooters? I mean, what do you do to sort of pass the time away?
Well, people ask, you know, what's your hobbies? What do you do? And it's like, all I do is music. I don't have time to do anything else when I do have time. I mean, in LA, I'm not sure how to relax here. All the things I was accustomed to doing in New Orleans, I don't know how to do here. You know? So, it's just more incentive to sit at home and do a record, you know.
You guys cook your own dinners?
You know, if you call typing in 3 minutes, start.
Hey, it's as good as anything I do, that's for sure. I want to thank you very much for coming down
You're
because,
welcome.
like I said before, it's the most flattering thing to have you guys here and have it go out like this. I'm just very happy. So
We
thank
were
you.
sad that the Quest video is.
I am too. But onward and upward. Tomorrow, don't forget the Jocks are going to be down here. Wednesday's our last day. We're going to leave you with The Cure, Fascination Street. It's for Jamie and Laguna